Hey there, everybody. Matt Carter here.
And Jessica Carter.
And welcome to our Blue Bloods discussion and reaction to Season 10, Episode 15, entitled Vested Interests. And this is an episode that I actually feel like there's a couple of things that matter a little bit beyond just the story of the week, which I certainly appreciate. Also,
we've been looking forward to that all season long, and finally it's here.
The Erin stuff, I think, is what's going to matter the most in the long term, but don't get me wrong. I like Ed Asner appearing on approximately his 1,000th TV show over the course of his career, and, you know, Ed Asner's always good on every single show that he's on, so he managed to sort of bring it in this episode, which is good, because that's primarily everything that CBS promoted in advance.
And they absolutely should have. He's fantastic, and he was fantastic in this, too. It was really great to see him, so no surprises that they've got him all over all the promotional stuff.
No, not at all. Well, if you do like this video, be sure to give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell if you want to make sure you don't miss any other updates. So, I do feel like this episode at least resolved a couple of different issues that Blue Bloods is having. I mean, first and foremost, let's talk about Erin, because we hit this show a lot for, okay, you do a lot of episodes that are kind of just like in one ear and then out the other, and then we don't really remember them for some time. But it feels like finally Erin might be getting closer to maybe being the DA at some point.
Yeah, there's been an awful lot of episodes this season that are really kind of like, man, I don't even remember what happened. There isn't enough sticking power. And then they gave us this, and this has all the sticking power. There is so much happening. You know, the DA is dirty, and now Erin knows. We've been seeing that maybe she was thinking of kind of throwing her hat in the ring for that position, but now with this, I mean, she ended up just kind of stumbling into this information from a guy who wanted to get a bit of a lighter sentence and a little bit of revenge, a little from column A and column B, but it's now a lot of information for Erin. I mean, I like the way that she handled it, that she looked over the information, she gave it to Anthony to say, do you go through this, come back and tell me what you think. I'm not going to put anything in your head. Let me know. And that way, if you come back with the same thing, then I know that what I'm thinking is also good. Their relationship and the trust that they have in each other is what I live for on this show. I really like it.
As long as you give us good Erin and Anthony stuff, I feel like I'm going to be happy with almost any Erin and Anthony storyline on this show, and especially when it has like legitimate long-term value. I think the question that Erin has to wonder, and this is, you know, spoiler alert, a classic Reagan family dilemma, is what do you do with the information that you have? Because, you know, this DA, this is a very high-powered position, and there is a lot of dirty politics that goes out there in this world. Do you exploit this, or do you go a different route if you do decide, you know what, I really want to throw my hat into the ring here?
Yeah, and I think also it's a cool storyline because she is a Reagan, so that name holds power. So this, we've seen sort of stories like this before where it's like, oh, the big bad DA or head of the police force or whoever is going up against, or someone smaller is going up against someone who's like, I have so much power and I'm corrupt. You know, she also has some power, and her family name holds power. So I'm very curious to see how it actually is going to play out in this type of scenario.
I am too, and I think more so than anything, I want them to take their time with this. And, you know, it could be so easy as them sort of throwing the real DA, actual DA out there next week, and then them sort of just like running towards that. But I don't think Blue Bloods really, they don't need to do that. They can be a little bit more patient. It does seem like we are getting the mayor next week for a pretty big storyline, but it seems to do more with the mayor, you know, of course, fighting with Frank.
Yeah.
So I think they can afford to be patient and take some time with it.
Yeah, this is Blue Bloods, though, so I expect that this isn't going to be like, I don't think, like a major arc that's going to take over all the rest of the episodes, and we're going to get updates in every single episode. I think we are still going to get lots of episodes that are just get in, get your case, enjoy it, get out episodes. But obviously, we're going to revisit this again.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like we've at least gotten like 4 episodes this season that have the DA and Erin making a decision, and that's been a part of it somehow. And that has been nice. I feel like Blue Bloods has done well by Erin this season.
Yeah, she's got a great storyline this season. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
On top of the Anthony-Erin friendship that I like a lot.
If only we had like the same level of stuff from everyone else, I would be really, because it felt like this was a pretty Jamie heavy storyline, and not so much a Jamie and Eddie tandem storyline.
Yeah, the Jamie storyline started out really great and then kind of just ended with a whack. Where I was like, oh man, what a great idea. Somebody has taken his vest. That means that it's someone that has access to the department or has been in the department. Like, everyone's investigating this. This has led to somebody getting shot. Like, there was so much juice in this squeeze that by the time they got to the end and he was just kind of like, oh, I figured out it's your son. I'm like, oh, well, it didn't feel like there was a lot of, he revisited a couple of things and it all got wrapped up in like a minute.
It reminded me a lot of, I know you've talked about this a little bit as well, the storyline that we've experienced on this show with Eddie and the cult leader, where it was a really great premise and we spent a lot of time sort of building that up, and then all of a sudden, poof, it just kind of disappears in a puff of smoke at the very end of the episode, and then we're left wondering how good it would have been if it had continued.
Yeah, it's sort of like this really great build-up, and then the payoff just isn't there because there's not enough time. Yeah. The show just either feels like it kind of needs to, just not all the time, but maybe like a really good idea, like Jamie's vest going missing, going over either 2 episodes or just taking one storyline out and giving more time to the really like meaty stories like this.
Yeah, and I would be fine with that. I mean, the Erin storyline, that's like a 6-episode arc. This could be a 2-episode arc.
Yeah, but the thing that came out of this of why I also think it needed a little more time is because this is, we haven't heard a lot from Jamie sort of saying that he misses sort of the good old days of being on the streets and sort of, I know what I'm getting with my days sort of thing. And then, not that he's disliking his position, but that it's not always what he wanted to be or enjoys it as much as maybe we thought that he did.
I think you're always going to have that sort of nostalgia for a certain part of your life where maybe it's a little bit easier. Maybe Jamie didn't have those expectations of being a leader all the time.
Yeah.
Or with Frank, maybe it's, he kind of harkens back to the days when he was spending time with Chuck Kennedy, who's Ed Asner's character, and he was this formative person in his life, and that's why he wants to do what he can to help this guy now after he's gone through this home invasion stuff.
Yeah, and I personally really love this story, and not just because Ed was on the show, but I personally really connected with this story because that whole thing where Frank was like, oh, I was a delinquent, I don't connect with that, but I was, sneaking into the theater and this and that. But after that one, he said, oh, and then this guy saw something in me and he gave me my first job, and how important that was to forming his entire life. I'm exactly like that. I got my first job at 14 and it has completely formed my entire life. I love working. It gave me value. I was watching this. I was like, yes, Frank, I understand this. And just like him and the Chuck character, the person who gave me my first job was my mom's ex-fiance, this man named John, helped me get my first job as a waitress, and I've always been thankful for that. And just in case you're watching, thanks, John. But it was such an important thing that happened in my life, to have that structure, have the freedom of making my own money, and having that responsibility. It was such a cool story tonight. For me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I connected to it in the same way that you did, but I still enjoyed it. I really enjoyed just the final scene, because usually anytime we get all the Reagans together, it's only at the dinner table, and that's just sort of it. And so to actually see, oh, there's Danny, oh, there's Jamie, it's like, oh, the entire cast actually got their schedule worked out so they could do another scene for a change. It was nice. It was like a little bit of breath of fresh air.
Well, it's worth it. If you've got Ed there, they were probably all like, can I also have some screen time with Ed? I will make some time too, if I can be in a scene with Ed.
It was almost like they, I like how they even shot it where you would think, okay, that's the only person that's there. It was like, but wait, there's more. Oh, and then there's Erin who's coming in, and she's not even a cop. And even Henry's getting in on the act.
Yeah.
I'm always good for Henry outside of the dinner table, but, those stories, they all had a lot of interesting stuff in them. And then you have Danny Reagan's storyline, which continues down the road of Danny's not getting anything that's super, super striking, though, I'll at least say this. I'm able to at least kind of remember what happened with it a little bit better than I am, like most Danny storylines 30 minutes later.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that there was at least this was a little more interesting, and they did kind of like touch into an area that not a lot of people know about, sort of the hotel service. But by the time they got around to the end, they were like, oh, it was the doorman. I'm like, I don't even remember who the doorman is. Like, I remember the guy who was owning the hotel, and I remember, of course, the girl with the dog that we lost. And then I was like, oh, the doorman. Then they went over to show him. I'm like, yeah, all right, doorman. You're going to jail.
I did like the monologue where they were talking about how the hotel industry is very lonely, and I was like, oh, that's a fascinating take I've never heard before.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, and by the way, here's the murderer, here's the doorman.
The other thing that was a bit different about this case is that they kept getting these really cold leads that were going nowhere. Even by the end of it, they were just kind of like, we're not getting anything from anybody. Like, we still are kind of in the dark, flapping in the wind. And it's nice to see that, because I'm sure that happens where it's not every episode on the show. You're just like, oh, and then it's this clue and connects to this clue, and now we got our murderer. To see them kind of struggling where everything is a dead end almost until the very end, it was a different perspective that I appreciated to see.
I did appreciate this episode by and large. I mean, we've been tough on Blue Bloods as of late, but it's tough love. It's because we care about the show and we care about the Reagans. We want them to be their best. And, this episode was a little bit of a step forward, and hopefully next week with episode 16, we will see more of the same. It's going to be heavily about conflict between the mayor and then also, of course, Frank and his advisors.
Yeah, and we even saw Frank threatening to go to the press and sort of start exposing stuff, which is, he's ready to play some hardball. And, Frank playing hardball, that's exciting stuff.
And, the one last thing we'll say here, and there's going to be a storyline about Jamie, Eddie, and a dog that they find. And we already have another video up about this, and we can check it out. The link is in the description. 2-word tease, Lieutenant Bark. You're welcome. Okay, what did you guys think about Blue Blood Season 10, Episode 15? Be sure to share in the comments below. And if you do like this discussion, give us a like, subscribe, and you can support us further by checking the link in the description to the CARTERMATT store. And we'll see you here next time.